Hi everyone, I'm Chef Susie with Escoffier Online, and welcome to our Thursday morning bacon and pastry session. Today we're going to be exploring a few things that we can make with marzipan that we made last week. So last week we took a little bit of our marzipan, rolled it out and put it on a cake, and there's a lot of other things that you can do with marzipan, and even things that I'm not going to be touching on today. So now that you have the marzipan recipe under your belt, you know how to make it, go and explore with the marzipan. It's really, really an important part of the pastry kitchen. It's a delicious item. It can be used for decorations. It's so flavorful for using in candies and putting on cakes, and keep all that in mind and have some fun with your marzipan. But before we start, we're going to talk about the iPad mini, which is going to be raffled off. And today is the last day to get in your assignments. And as long as your assignments are in by 12 a.m., then they will be graded. And if it's a passing assignment, you'll get another entry into the raffle. So keep in mind you have until midnight tonight to enter, and then your assignment will be graded tomorrow, but you'll still go in the raffle because you got your assignment in the month of July. So the iPad mini, super cute. Like I said so many times, I have one myself. I really love it. You'll like it a lot. This is the black model, super pretty. I have the white model, but I'm almost sorry that I didn't get the black, but I love it. You're gonna like it a lot. So we'll be doing the drawing next week after we collect all of the assignments. And keep in mind, the top 5 students that have submitted and passed the most assignments will receive an Escoffier branded chef jacket with your name embroidered on it. So it's not too late to join in on the raffle and the competition. You just need to get everything in before midnight tonight. And if you need any help, be sure to call your mentor or email us too. And if it's getting down to the wire, make sure that you call us. You can reach us until 9 p.m. Central Time tonight. So have fun with your assignments. And the good thing is it'll give you more entries into the raffle, and it'll get you closer towards winning the chef coat as well as your graduation. And speaking of graduation, don't forget about the graduation ceremony that's coming up this Saturday in the morning. So all of the graduated students will be listed, and there's going to be a ceremony playing, and everyone is able to watch, even if you're not a graduate. And keep in mind, if you didn't make the graduation ceremony this time, we're going to be doing some more. So tune in for the graduation ceremony, and all the students that are going to be in the ceremony take a bow. Okay, so let's get started on our marzipan. Like I said, there's so many things that you can do with this marzipan, and it's super flavorful. Remember, it's made with almond paste, and almond paste is just ground almonds and sugar. It's processed. Pastry chefs a long time ago had to make their own, but we can buy almond paste today in most stores, and we can buy it commercially in large cans. It's readily available. Super flavorful. It has a nice texture to it. It's not real smooth. It's got a little bit of texture, and it's nice for making decorations. And you can also make little candies with them, and I'm going to show you a little example today, just a little taste of candy making with some marzipan. So what I did is I just rolled out some of the marzipan that I made last week. It's at room temperature. I like to get it up to room temperature, and then it eliminates some of the cracking. And you'll still sometimes have some of the cracking, but if you see excessive cracking or excessive dryness, it means you need a little bit more moisture. So you can go ahead and add just a little touch more corn syrup if you need to. Don't get carried away. You don't want to get it sticky. And keep in mind, if you're coloring this, maybe wait to add the extra corn syrup until after you're going to add your coloring. So back to the candies. I just took some marzipan that we made, I rolled it out, and I cut it in some squares, and we're just going to dip it in some chocolate, a really simple candy that you can make, and you can embellish on this. You can roll layers of marzipan and put a little bit of apricot jam in between and cut those for a little bit of layering. You can put some liqueurs and some flavoring into your marzipan as well to embellish it. But it makes a super nice little candy, so easy to make. I've got chocolate that I melted earlier. And we're just going to be dipping these candies into our chocolate. I have these on a silpat. You can also do this on a screen and let some of the chocolate drip down. This is a little bit thick when I'm using, so I'm just going to be doing this right on the silpat. And do we have any questions on anything so far? Okay, when I'm dipping, I just like to use 2 forks from my kitchen. You can buy dipping sets that come in really handy, but I think we all know, any of us that have worked in a commercial kitchen, or it even happens in my home kitchen, things like little dipping tools and things, they can get misplaced, and you put it somewhere and you can't find it when you need it, or you have it in a commercial kitchen and someone borrowed it in the main kitchen for something that they were using in the salad station. So you've always got forks handy, so this is what I tend to use. But the dipping sets and the dipping tools are nice, so either one will work just fine. So I'm going to show you how to dip these with the fork right now. So what I'm doing is, my marzipan, of course, it's stable, it's solid. You wouldn't want to do this with a crumbly piece of cake because it would fall apart when you put it in the chocolate. But I'm just going to be dropping this into the chocolate. And then I'm going to take my fork and I'm kind of touching the bottom, and I'm just going to scoop it around, and I pulled it out. And this is going to take a little bit of practice, but once you get the hang of this, you'll be making 20 at a time. So I'm just tapping my fork on the side here to get some of the excess chocolate off, because this is a little bit thicker. Then I'm going to use my second fork to come underneath and kind of pull it off of here. And it doesn't always come off real easy, but with some practice, things will get better. You could put, while it's still warm, you could put some sprinkles on here for some color, or maybe even just an almond for a nice little candy. And we have a question.
Never mind. There was a question that they're asking for something else.
Okay, question's been answered. Back to the marzipan candies. Okay, so let's practice this. You could do this in your kitchen all afternoon. You can make like a whole sheet pan of these. Okay, so I've dropped the marzipan square in the chocolate. I'm getting it by the bottom, and I'm just lifting it up. And these are just 2 forks from my kitchen. And the forks are going to get a little clumped up with chocolate, especially this one that's kind of diving in. So you're going to have to wash them once in a while. And then I'm just kind of scooting it off. And you see how easy these are to make, and they're just so delightful. You can put an almond on here. You know what else looks super pretty is a pistachio for some green color. Really nice. Like I said, some sprinkles, chopped nuts, toasted coconut, whatever you like. Okay, so try this technique, please, and let me know how it works out for you. I've done this for years. It's really simple, and like I said, you've always got 2 forks somewhere in your kitchen. And remember, if you're going to be putting something on top of this, you're going to want to get it on here while it's still wet. Otherwise, it's not going to stick, and it's just going to fall off. And we have a question.
What do you do if the chocolate cools before you are finished, and is it okay to remelt it?
The question is if the chocolate cools before you're finished, is it okay to remelt it? Sure is. This kitchen today is a little bit warm, but in a cooler kitchen, your chocolate is really going to cool off on you. So if you're making a lot of these, you're definitely going to have to rewarm your chocolate. And you'll be able to tell once it's starting to just be a little thick on your candies. Then just go ahead and rewarm it. That's the nice thing about chocolate. You can always bring it back. Okay, so we've got some cute little candies that we made with our simple marzipan. And see how nice they are? You'll be sure to dazzle your friends and family with these. Just a few ingredients. For our marzipan, we just had our almond paste, our powdered sugar, and our corn syrup. This is just some chocolate and a few nuts. So try these and let me know how you do. Okay, so let's get back to our marzipan. We're going to set these aside. Okay, so I've got the marzipan that we made last week. I stored it in the refrigerator, and I took it out this morning, and it's at room temp, and it's pliable. It's cracking a little bit, but we'll just see how it does. If it starts cracking or it's too crumbly on us, then we'll go ahead and add a little corn syrup. But for what we're going to be doing, it should be okay. So let's talk about coloring the marzipan. First thing you're going to want to do when you're coloring your marzipan is put some gloves on, because you can get the color on your fingers, and if you're making different colors, if you're making maybe 3 different colors, say you start out with some green or some blue and then you make yellow, if you have this dye on your hands, it's just going to be transferred to the next color. So you're going to want your colors to stay clean. So we're going to go ahead and put some gloves on. For something like this, I like to wear a smaller glove. Usually I wear a medium, but since it's a little sticky and it might start pulling the glove, you're going to want to wear a smaller glove for sure. So always keep some gloves in your kitchen. They come in so handy, especially if you have like a little cut or something on your finger. Can you imagine how hard that would be to do this with a Band-Aid on? So keep some gloves handy. You'll be happy you have them. Okay. So we've got the marzipan. So let's talk about coloring marzipan. You've got to be careful not to make it too sticky. I like to use paste. I have some liquid gel. You can also use the liquid food coloring that you can buy in the grocery store, but be careful that you're not using too much and you're not getting it too sticky. So I've got some red here and some yellow. So I want to make some orange because we're going to make some carrots. I'm going to show you how to make a few carrots for your carrot cake. So keep in mind that your primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. And by mixing these colors in different combinations, you can make any color under the rainbow. So if you have a chance, if you find a coloring chart, sometimes some of the food coloring companies will include those with your colors. So grab one, keep it in your kitchen. So we're going to be mixing red with yellow. That's going to make orange. And blue with yellow is going to make green. So keep that in mind. Those are like the 2 common combinations that you can make. Okay, so we're going to be careful not to put too much on here. I'm just kind of dipping it in. And with coloring, you're just going to do a little bit at a time. So I dipped a little bit in my red, and now I'm moving over to my yellow, and we're going to make a nice orange color. So we might have to add a little bit. Coloring is something that you want to add gradually. And of course with the carrots, we're going to make them orange like carrots, but with some of our other things like flowers, you're going to want to tone it down a little bit, not make them too bright, unless you have someone that's actually asking for that. Okay. So you're just going to work this in your hands. It's the best way to do it. That's why the gloves come in handy, and you can hear the stickiness on the glove. That's why you're going to want to wear something a little bit smaller. If you have to use your hands, you're just going to have to make sure you get all the color off until you move on to the next one, because you can transfer it into your next color. Okay, so we've got a nice orange on the first try. So like I said, these liquid pastes come in handy. Also, the pastes in the jars are really good for the marzipan. But if you have to use liquid, you'll be okay. Just be mindful. It could make your marzipan a little sticky, and you might have to add a little bit extra powdered sugar. Okay, so what we're going to do, now that our colors mix together, we're going to form a few carrots, and you can use these on your carrot cake for your assignment. And keep in mind, when you're covering your cake with the marzipan is heavy, so you're going to want to put it on a heavier cake. Just like on a lighter cake, you're going to want to use something really light, like a whipped cream. So a good cake to cover in marzipan would actually be your carrot cake, because the flavors would go really nice with the coconut and the pineapple and the carrots and all of the spices too. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to form a ball. And then we're going to roll the ball. We're going to start at the tip because we're going to make a carrot shape. And of course, carrots aren't perfect, so don't worry if your carrots are perfect. You just kind of want to get the idea. So we've got a cute little carrot. We're going to cover our marzipan. And you can make these smaller or larger if you like, but they're super cute decoration for the carrot cake. And if you have a bakery someday, or even if you're serving these on a buffet, it'll help distinguish what the dessert is. If someone sees a carrot on it and it looks like a carrot cake, they're going to know it's carrot cake. Okay, so do we have any questions on coloring marzipan? And we have a question.
Is the recipe for the marzipan in the database?
The question is the recipe for the marzipan in the database? It's not in the recipe database, but you can find it in the archive video webcast. And if you can't find it, be sure to give me a call and I can send you a copy. But it's really just 3 simple ingredients. We took 1 pound of almond paste, which we bought in the store. It came in a can. And 1 pound of powdered sugar that was sifted, and 3 ounces of cornstarch. So just remember 113, or write it down now and put it in your recipe book. Okay, so we've got the carrots, and they're so cute. They look very carrot-like, like little mini carrots. And what you're going to want to do is, once you have your carrots rolled, maybe put a few lines on them, a few indentations to make them a little more authentic. And they don't have to really be going the same way. You can change them up a little bit. It's just going to add a little texture to your little carrot design that you're going to make. So you're going to be putting these on your cake, either your whole cake or your cake squares, and you can put them just like this, or you could even maybe overlap and make 2 carrots at once. And you can make some leaves out of the marzipan and stick them on, or you can just do a little bit of buttercream piping, which I'm going to show you. And I just made some green buttercream, the buttercream from the recipe. I didn't make it too green. You can make this a little more striking, add a little bit more green color if you like. And these 2, if you're going to stack them up, you're going to want to press them together a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm just doing some piping to kind of give that fern effect on top that you see on carrots. Okay, so if that doesn't look like a carrot, I don't know what does. So let's put this aside. And next we're going to be making a flower. We're going to make a rose out of our marzipan. And you can do these pretty much any color. We're going to make a little bit of a pale pink. I'm just going to be adding a little bit of pink just to add a little bit of contrast. And it's going to be like a real natural pink color because the marzipan is kind of like a creamy color. It's not a stark white. So I'm going to take about as much as I need, about a handful for 1 rose. Make a little bit extra. Keep in mind if you're making roses for a cake and you're not really sure how much you need and you're coloring it, make a little bit extra because the color is hard to go back and match. You can do it, but it takes a lot of extra time. So just make a little bit extra. When in doubt, make a little extra colored. Okay. So I'm just going to use just a tad of this red color just to give it a little bit of a pink hue. I don't want to get carried away. Let's see how this works out. We'll go ahead and mix it in. And who knows? Should be okay. Should be a nice pink color, but we might have to add a little marzipan as well to tone it down. So it's coming along just fine. And do we have any questions on anything? And keep in mind when you're coloring these things like marzipan and fondant, if you're doing a small amount by hand, it's going to take a little time, so just take your time. That's something that you can go through quickly. Just going to kind of mix it in your hand a little bit. And how is everyone doing with their assignments? Does anyone have any questions on anything so far? And most of all, how is everyone liking the new site? Is everyone making their way around okay? If you have any problems or any questions, be sure to give us a call. Chef Mentors can help. Tech support is here. And you can even call your original advisor and they can walk you through with the screen share. So just let us know if you need anything. We know it's new, it's a little different, it's going to take a little while to get used to, but it's actually a lot easier to move around. So I think that in the long run, you're going to be real happy with it. Okay. So we've got a real nice, like, pale pink color. I like this a lot. And these roses, they just take a little bit of time because you've got to roll out the petals and make the base. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do is we're going to be making a base. And this is what's going to hold the petals that we're making. And we have a question.
Actually, there's two questions. How would you add color accents to fruit such as pears or apples? And also, can you stretch the marzipan out to use cookie cutter shapes like we do for fondant?
Okay. The first question is about the coloring, is how you would add coloring to make different fruits like apples and oranges and things. And you would just add the coloring the same way. For if you wanted to do like a redder apple, I would definitely use a paste. Stay away from the liquids. The stronger the color you need. You can see that we made the orange pretty well. And the second question is can you roll or stretch the marzipan out and use cookie cutters or different shaped cutters? You sure can. You're going to want to roll it out with a little bit of powdered sugar. Okay, so I made the base for our flowers. Looks similar to the carrot that we made. We're going to be building our petals around this. So we're going to get going and we're going to make our petals. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll out a log. And then you're going to cut this for the petals, and this will ensure that you're getting your petals close to the same size. Remember, it's a flower, and flowers in nature aren't perfect, but you want it to look as neat as it can. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this, and then we're going to make the petals out of each piece. Okay. Okay, so next our petals are going to be rolled into balls. And we're going to press them down, and then we're going to finish them off by rolling them out the rest of the way with a spoon. So if anyone has any questions, please let me know. You're going to want to press this to get it started, and then you're going to use the spoon to finish up and do kind of the final touch and kind of get that lightness around. And keep in mind you might have some cracking along your way, and the spoon will help smooth that out once the oils start working. And also too, our roses in nature, they're not perfect, so don't worry if they're not perfect. You're just going to want to get it the best that you can. And do we have any questions? Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to get our spoon. I'm going to be using a larger spoon for this. And I'm just using the spoon. See how it's working the petal around? Try to make them as round as you can, but if you can't, don't worry either. And the spoon is going to help with these thinner edges. So let's try to keep them a little more round from the get-go, and then we'll get some rounder petals. So just take the back side of the spoon and just kind of go around, and you're just making the nice thinness of the rose petal. And if you're in a warmer climate and you've got any sticking, you can go ahead and add a little bit of powdered sugar. But keep in mind, if you do have to add the powdered sugar, you might have to use a little bit of water to actually stick these petals onto the base that we made just a minute ago. It's a super fun way to spend your afternoon making marzipan roses. I'm going to try to get this one a little bit more circular, but we're going to be wrapping these around our base so it won't be really noticeable if they're not completely round. So don't worry about that. This one tore on me a little bit. Okay, so the marzipan, it does get a crust on it eventually, so don't walk away when you're doing this. Do this in a timely manner to get it done and get your rows put together so you don't have any cracking. And do we have any questions? Please try this. Let me know how you do. You can make a simple rose. You can put it in the center of your flourless chocolate cake that you're going to be making in the program. The one that's going to be covered with the nice sour cream ganache. This would look super cute, just sitting right in the center. And the pink on the chocolate, or even a peach or a yellow color, would be really, really delightful. Okay, so we're down to the last petal. And as you work on these in time, you'll become more comfortable and it'll become easier. The first time might be a little awkward. So now we're just going to release our petals. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm releasing all of the petals before I actually build my rose. It's a little bit easier to release these and then just go ahead and build the rose. Then you don't have to keep picking up your tool, because the petals, you can just pick them up by hand. Okay, so we're going to be layering these petals around the base. And we have another question.
Does marzipan dry out as quickly as fondant, and how long can you store it for?
The question is does marzipan dry out as much as fondant does? Not as much, because there's a lot of oil in the marzipan, which is not in the fondant. So it's going to dry, it's going to get a crust, but it'll take a real long time to completely dry through hard like the fondant does. And you can store these flowers at room temperature, so I would say maybe for like a week in an airtight container. Be careful to keep these away from the light, because the light is going to draw the color out, especially with purples. We all know that the light really takes the color out of our icings, especially purple. So they can store them for about a week in an airtight container, but they won't get as dry as the fondant. Okay, so let's start wrapping our petals around our base. So we have the narrow side up, and I'm using the smooth side against the, I'm wrapping it around the narrow side. This is the side that I used a spoon on. Okay. So I'm just wrapping this around, kind of getting it started. The inside petal of the rose, you're going to want to leave a little bit of a lip, because you're going to be overlapping these petals. And if you're having any trouble with this sticking, the marzipan is a little bit tacky. But if you're having any trouble with it sticking, go ahead and just, I have a little dish of water. You can put a little on your finger just to get it tacky, not wet, because they could slide tacky. Okay, so you're also going to be curling these petals as well to give it a little bit of an authentic look. And then you're just going to keep taking the petals around and overlapping them. Does anyone have any questions on this technique? Like I said, with the marzipan, you might see a little bit of cracking. You can pinch it together a little bit with these petals, but you'll be just fine. Careful not to overlap too much. I'm trying to just overlap like a 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm kind of bringing my petals out along the way. I'm curling them a little bit. If you have a little extra cracking, just give it a little extra curl. Okay? Please try this. Let me know how you do. I'd love to hear how the marzipan roses go over at home or at work. Okay, like I said, I've got a little bit of cracking, so I'm doing a little bit of pinching. And you can always clean it up once you get it going. So this is a super beautiful color, really pretty marzipan rose. As the petals get bigger, you can pull them out a little bit more for a more open looking rose. And we're getting ready to wrap up. So does anyone have any questions? And if you have any questions on making marzipan, anything out of marzipan, be sure to let me know. So this is our marzipan rose. I'm opening it up a little bit more. And I'm just going to kind of pinch some of these cracks and curl some of them over. Okay, so we have our marzipan rose along with our marzipan carrot and the chocolates that we made today. Let's see if they're set enough. Perfect. Our almond marzipan chocolates. And thanks for joining me today. If you don't have any questions, we're going to say goodbye. Keep in mind you have until midnight to get your assignments in. So we'll see you next week and good luck in the raffle.